Hi, you guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm Annette, mother of Matteo, my little 14-year-old angel with autism, and my best teacher in the world. Most effective teacher in the world, I guess. Today I wanted to talk about kind of integrating our kids into a community social group. And I know that's a big deal for all of us, especially as moms and dads who want their kids to grow up having best friends and want their kids to grow up as a part of a social group of some kind, whether it's a band or a Boy Scouts or a church group or a 4-H, whatever it is, but to have something, right? If you're watching this video and still watching it and haven't turned it off yet, then you're probably one of those parents, right? So I know one of the hardest things for me in this journey raising Matteo was when I would be sitting at McDonald's, for example, and we were in the play area, and Matteo would be climbing up on the plaything in the McDonald's playland, and he would find his favorite spot and he'd just sit there. And I would be looking at these other kids playing and telling each other, come on, try this, try that. And I mean, I would literally sit there and start crying because it was hard for me to watch him not have that social interaction, because I'm a social beast, is what the truth is. You may or may not be, I don't know, but that was one of the hardest things for me. And my husband would remind me, he's not you. I'm like, that's true, it's true. But still I wanted it for him. Anyway, as the years have progressed, and now Matteo's 14, and he is communicating with a letterboard. Here it is. You may be watching his Mondays with Matteo episodes. So anyway, I can now understand from him what he wants and what he doesn't want, not what I want and what I don't want for him. So he can make his own choices. And one of his things that he wanted was to join a social group. So we investigated and tried the Boy Scouts. And I looked up all these troops online. So whatever you may feel your child's interested in, maybe it's music, maybe it's dancing, maybe it's whatever you come up with, just kind of go online and investigate all the opportunities in your community. In the past, I've tried to integrate Matteo into social groups, doing some things. Some things were successful, some things were drastically unsuccessful. So I've kind of come up with a little formula that I use to preempt a group and kind of prepare them for the entrance of my son. And it tends to work pretty well, at least it has recently. And so let's take Boy Scouts, for example, because that's what we're doing. I looked up all the troops. I contacted, there's 3 troops in our area. I contacted all 3 of the directors or the leaders. And I waited to see who's going to respond to me the quickest. I wrote a little introductory letter that we're interested. And I did mention that my son has autism and that I would be attending with him and stuff like that. And I waited. And 2 of them I never heard from. And 1 I heard back from just like that. We'd love to meet you guys. Bring them on over. Here are our meeting times are this. So we go and we show up. Introduce ourselves. He just took part in the meeting. They went around and introduced the kids. I explained who Matteo was. I asked for 2 minutes that I could explain who Matteo was and what autism was, seriously, in 30 seconds or less. And just like, he doesn't use language very much, so if he doesn't say hi back to you right away, it's nothing against you personally. He just has a hard time getting thoughts that are in his brain out his mouth. But he understands everything you're saying. So just talk to him like you would any of your other friends. The trick is you just kind of eliminate the need for the response. So that was my 30-second thing. And we ended up doing a few activities with the group because I wanted to see how they interacted with each other and if any of them would make it an effort to include Matteo. I didn't put it solely on them, however. So you can kind of pick out the kids. You can can tell right away by the first meeting of any sort of group which kids kind of go up to your child, and you kind of, hey, they might be a great potential friend. So you kind of can start talking to that child and say, hey, I really appreciate how you went and said hi to my son, and you made him feel really welcomed, and I appreciate that. And that's what I did with the boys that did that for Matteo. And they're like, you know, they felt good about themselves. And we give these guys opportunities to do that. So Matteo being in their scout troop gives all these guys an opportunity also to learn from him and feel good about themselves just as much as Matteo's going to learn from them. That's the biggest thing that we as parents want to remember, is that this isn't, oh, please do this to help my son necessarily. It's a true belief that they're going to benefit as much having our kids in their group as our kids are going to benefit from being in the group with them. That's what it's all about. It's learning from each other, right? That's what makes the world go round. And so that's what we did. We ended up, 2 months of these activities. And we actually had an experience that wasn't real good with this group too. And my husband and I wanted to not go back, but I asked Matteo what he thought, and he was so gracious. He's like, Mom, that man just didn't understand. And he just didn't know. And it's not his fault. Maybe I'm in his life to inspire him, but I want to keep going. I'm like, really? Wow. He was a much bigger person than I was, or my husband was, I'll tell you that. And we're so glad that we were able to stick it out. If you don't have a method of communication yet, you haven't found your miracle to have your child be able to express their deep thoughts, then simply try to work with a yes-no choice letterboard on a piece of paper. Just take a piece of paper and fold it up and write yes on one side and no on the other side. Draw a line down the middle and just try to practice. Hey, just ask them questions, yes or no. Is this ball blue? Yes or no. Right? Is this piece of meat brown? Yes or no. Just practicing yes or no. So at least when you take them to a social group, do you want to go back to this social group? Yes or no. Yes or no questions are really, really powerful. But remember, only ask one at a time. Would you like to go back to this group, or would you rather stay home? Yes or no doesn't work with that question, right? That was 2 questions. My grandfather had a stroke when I was in high school, and my mom was out with him, and he couldn't talk anymore. And my mom would ask him questions, and he would just go like this. And that stuck with me through this whole thing. The things we learn, right, that you never think you're going to use later in life. So, one question only. So if you're going to use a yes-no board, that's what I have to say. But anyway, what I'm saying is preparing a group, a social group, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, band, whatever it's going to be, community, art class, whatever it's going to be. Just ask for a couple minutes at the beginning to explain who your child is and maybe a strength and a challenge that they have. If you aren't comfortable speaking in front of a group, maybe you're shy as the parent, maybe you don't want to do that, but yet you want it for your child, consider maybe writing it out and asking the teacher to read it, or asking the scout leader to read it, or the band director to read it, or whatever you're doing. Find a way, be creative, think outside the box a little bit. Find a way to get this information to the kids that are involved in the group, because they don't necessarily, they don't want to ostracize our kids. I don't believe that. I just don't. They just don't know how to interact. And those are 2 different things, right? So if we as the parents can help the kids in a group learn how to interact step by step, this world's going to be a much more beautiful place, right? For them and for our kids. All right, so thanks for listening. Hope any of this helps. And please contact me and let me know what you think. All right, have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.